Hello and welcome to the garden. I've got one job to do today, and that is to bring in some garlic. So I've got one patch of garlic outdoors, and it's one of the varieties I grew last year. The garlic itself is very nicely flavoured, and it's simply referred to as French red. It came from seeds of Italy. The bulbs were in great condition. The cloves are big and lovely. Everything about it is great, except that once again it's been absolutely trashed with the rust. So this variety had quite a lot of rust on it last year. I had an Italian variety there that also had a bit of rust, but not nearly as bad as this one, and I'm starting to wonder whether it might be a wee bit susceptible to the rust. So although it's a very nicely flavoured garlic, I think I will be putting a different variety in there next year to see how that one copes. So they were planted in the autumn. They were wonderful plants up until, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, say, when there was a fair bit of rust coming on them, and I've never seen so much rust on garlic plants before. They're completely trashed, and I've been wanting a little dry period in order to have a look at them and maybe lift them, and all we've had lately is on and off showers and moody weather. So I can see on those stems that they're going a bit manky. They have to come out. I should have lifted them a few weeks ago, regardless of the state of the bulbs, because this wet weather is doing them no favors. So I'm going to lift them today, see if there's anything worth harvesting there. I don't know, but we'll find out. I just thought I'd start this video in the polytunnel though, because here I've got another crop of garlic, and we only put this polytunnel in last year. When we had our previous polytunnel, we used to grow garlic in there every autumn and always got fantastic results from the garlic in the tunnel, and it looks like these are going to be pretty good this year, or at least I hope so. There is just a touch of rust on one of these two varieties here, and I've got a hard neck and a soft neck, and of course I like to have at least one hard neck in the mix. If for no other reason, then we get those garlic scapes, and they are showing up now, and I will be picking some of those soon. So the garlic here is growing in and amongst the tomatoes, and here's one of the scapes. This is the flower spike that the hardneck garlics produce, and yeah, these are absolutely delicious. Such a short season, and you only get, well, you get one per clove, so depends how many you plant. I should have about 33 of these if they're all producing, and yeah, it's a small harvest, very seasonal crop, but absolutely delicious. You might be able to see there's a bit of rust on the garlic here, but it's not so much that it's causing a problem, and I think this stuff that's in the polytunnel is still going to give me a decent crop. The stems are a good size there. Some of them are even better on the soft neck varieties, and yeah, there's a little bit of rust coming on these now. It seems to be really quite bad this year, so it won't be long before these have to be lifted as well, but hopefully I can get another few weeks from these plants, allow those bulbs to develop there, and I don't know if the stem's anything to go by. Maybe we've got a decent bulb down there. At this end of the bed I've got some shallots. They don't look bad, they're not as big as last year, but they are a pretty good size, and I hope this wet weather isn't going to upset those too much. And again, with this particular variety, I've got a few that are bolting. Not too many, but it's a little bit annoying. Of course, you can still use these bulbs, you just have to use them first. They won't keep in store. I don't normally expect to see too much bolting from the shallots. Those are proper shallots, so they're from bulbs, not from seed, and I really don't expect to see them bolt like that. And it's not too much, it's really not a problem for me, but I think I might try a different variety next year, something slightly different, because that's the second year I've been growing that particular variety, and I think it's bolting more than it ought to. So I will still get plenty of good shallots from it, I'm sure, as long as this weather doesn't ruin them, but I think that variety is out next year. At this end of the bed, I've got my overwintered Japanese onions, and these I do expect to bolt. And I mean, they do it every year, but it doesn't matter. It may be that eventually every single one of these will bolt, although there are a few this year that look like they might get away without it, but it doesn't matter, because these are the onions that I am using immediately. I've been thinning them out. They're planted ever so close, but as you can see, they are forming pretty good sized bulbs. Some of these have got lovely bulbs on already. Others are a bit smaller, but we've been taking these since they've been sort of spring onion size, and we've just got so many because they're so tightly packed in here. They grow quite happily. There's no reason for me to give these any more space. They're not really going to give me much better bulbs if I give them more space, and they're going to bolt anyway, so I can't store them. So we use these to give us a really early crop, and yeah, as I say, we've been using these for a long time, and they are what they are, and those that are bolted, we will use them fresh. I don't know whether we'll get any that will be stored, but we've just got a ton of onion here that we can use as and when we need it. So these I really don't mind. I'm quite happy to grow these, a small patch of them, just to give us those early onions. Now, this monstrosity in the middle, that is my patch of garlic, and as you can see, it is a complete disaster. It is absolutely smothered with rust. Interestingly, though, the plants to either side, they don't show too much sign of it. Some of those along the edge, maybe you can see on this leaf here, they're showing signs of rust, but further into the patch, very little. The same is also true over at the shallots. There's a little bit of rust on some of these leaves, but further into the patch, again, not as much. So there are rusts that will affect all of the alliums. Our leeks often get a bit of rust later in the year, and obviously the garlic is reasonably prone to rust, and the onions and shallots much less so. But rust species are actually pretty specific, so the rust that is affecting the garlic here is not the same rust that will affect the leeks and the onions. So those others, they're not nearly so susceptible to this particular rust. This is primarily the garlic that's getting hit with that one, and well, we do have a lot of rust here, but I've never seen it as bad as that, and I've never seen it take out the garlic at quite such an unfortunate moment. So last year at least I had some dry weather when, you know, the foliage could be dry and the soil was nice and reasonably dry. It's just damp here, so that's not helping with the rust, and it's not helping these plants, so that's why they've got to come out today. I've got a little break in the weather. Looks like the rain clouds have gone, but they are coming back, so later today I expect rain, and tomorrow it'll be raining, and yeah, it is a garlic disaster. So let's get a look at these bulbs, see if there's anything there. So as usual, I'm going to get the trowel underneath the garlic. I don't like to see these just pulled out. It's not good, so I want to get down underneath this, and they're planted quite deep as they should be. So I'll get the trowel fully under there, and let's see if there's anything there. Oh, not an awful lot. Well, the good news is the bulb is completely sound, so if I dry that off, it'll be fine. And this particular variety has quite big cloves, not too many of them, but they are nice and big. So even though the bulb isn't a great size, the cloves in there will be, they'll be pretty good. So there's a wonderful garlic aroma here. So it's not a complete write-off. I'm not going to win any prizes for that garlic, but it's not a total disaster. And we use so much garlic, it would be a real pity to get nothing from this crop. Right, I will get the rest up. Oh dear, that is really small. So these really needed a little bit longer, although actually they don't necessarily need longer now. It wouldn't be so bad to be pulling them now, but they haven't really been growing properly for weeks. The rust has been affecting them for, I would say, at least 6 weeks. So that is why we've got such small bulbs. Yeah, another small one. But they're all rock hard, and that at least is good news. Yeah, it is a pity that the rust took these plants out so early this year, and as I say, I'm starting to suspect that this variety might be just a wee bit susceptible. So I mean, maybe it's not, and it could just be that we've had too much rust around and conditions have been favourable for it this year. But these are, I'm going to get plenty of usable garlic from it. But these were much bigger last year. This variety can produce some big old bulbs, but not this season. This is a slightly bigger stem. Does it have a bigger bulb? Well, not really. Maybe a little bit. It's got some good old roots on it. They were growing really well. They went right through the winter without complaint, and vigorous, healthy looking plants until the rust came along. Leaving this sort of plant now in damp soil, you can see the leaves are starting to decay, and it wouldn't be long before these bulbs really get nasty. Right now they're absolutely fine. I'll put these in crates in the greenhouse. They can start to dry off a bit, and then I'll move them somewhere airy, probably in the garage, and they can be stored in there after they've dried out. Well, I worked my way through the rest of that bed, hoping I might find something a bit more impressive, but no, I mean this one's about typical. Now normally I wouldn't do anything with these. I'd just put them somewhere to dry, but this growth up the top, it's nasty. There are signs of a little bit of mold on it, and it's really unpleasant, and I don't think it would help the garlic to hang around with this really wet leafy junk. So I'm going to cut that off, and I should just put that part away. So I'm just going to peel these outer leaves back from the bottom there, the worst of them. I'll take that off. Actually, I don't normally peel the garlic like this, but I think under the circumstances that's likely to dry out a little bit better. I don't normally trim the roots either, but why not just take a little bit of that off, because they're not doing anything useful. So yeah, I'll go through these, pop these away, and there's that wonderful smell of good strong French garlic here. But yeah, I'm fortunate that this variety has those particularly large cloves, because otherwise these would be small and fiddly and a real pain in the kitchen. But they're not going to be, they're going to be fine. And I've got some 70 odd garlic plants under cover, so I should still get plenty of garlic later on. But anyway, that is all for this video. I hope your garlic is in a better condition than mine. Thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.